Hello, everyone, and welcome back to One Dish, Two Ways. So, as you can see, we had a little audio problem while we were making the video. So, we are doing a voiceover so we can explain to you what we were doing. So, today we are making jambalaya. So, I'm pointing out here that in that skillet there is kielbasa and some roasted chicken that Joe had left over from another meal. And we are heating that up because that's going to be his topping for the jambalaya. And that small skillet that I'm pointing out right now is jackfruit. That's going to be the topping for my jambalaya. And in this gray skillet here with the peppers and onions, I have a dry, hot skillet, or medium hot, and I put the chopped peppers and onions into the skillet. Of course, no oil in there because we don't use oil in our cooking. And we're just stirring that around and starting to get those vegetables to be a little bit translucent. So the reason we chose jambalaya was just the season of going into Mardi Gras and everything else, but then we had the audio problem, so we did not end up getting this published until now. So right here, I just added some minced garlic. And what I'm explaining in the video is when you add the minced garlic, you want to make sure that you do not leave it too long without stirring it. And once you start to smell it, that means that it's good, and you need to probably start adding some liquid to your pan so that you don't burn the garlic. So that's what I'm doing here. The vegetables had gotten translucent enough, I could add the garlic. The garlic doesn't take as much time as the peppers and onions, hence why I didn't add it in the beginning. So I'm stirring everything around. The vegetables let off natural moisture, so you do not have to add a bunch of moisture to it, but you can. There is a cup of jasmine rice that I'm adding to it, dry jasmine rice, and I want to toast that jasmine rice. Super important to get that depth of flavor is to get it to toast. You don't want to do it for a long period of time, and please don't step away because you need to make sure you're stirring that. It will burn if you just let it sit there. So now I'm going to add some Cajun seasoning. You can use whichever kind that you like. And I believe it is 1 tablespoon. That's a half tablespoon, and I'm doing 2 of them. There you go. And then I'm going to stir that around because that then starts to toast those spices, gives you the next depth of flavor, which is very important for a combined dish like a jambalaya, in my humble opinion. Years ago, I sold Pampered Chef years and years ago when our son was in school, and went to a trip to New Orleans for a Pampered Chef conference, and I took a Cajun cooking class. Boy, that was very informative. As was with a style of cooking I wasn't used to. So as you can see, Joe's stirring his chicken and kielbasa. And now I'm getting ready to add some tomato paste to the jambalaya. We want to get that also with that depth of flavor, hence why I'm adding it before I'm adding my broth. It's just a couple tablespoons. Next, we're going to add some vegetable broth. There you go. And you're going to stir it all around. Very good. Tomato paste is one of those that they do sell it now in a tube. If you look on the top shelf where the tomato paste and tomato products are, that's really convenient because then it's like toothpaste. You can just squeeze a little bit out. But I have there a jar of it, the 6-ounce can of it. So another thing you can do is you can measure out 2 tablespoons worth, put it on a little piece of parchment paper, and then fold the parchment paper over and do another 2 tablespoons, and then freeze that and then use it later, so that you don't have the can go to waste. So we put the lid on so that the rice can cook, and we're going to turn it down to let it simmer because we had it up to a boil, and now I put the lid on it and we're going to simmer it. Joe's kielbasa and chicken is just about heated through. And then I'm going to show you how to work with jackfruit. The camera's going to move. This dish that I have here is a ceramic cast iron. So that is another reason it's naturally non-stick. So another reason I didn't need to use any oil or pan. Okay, so I'm going to show you the jackfruit because most folks haven't had much time with jackfruit, and it's a very good ingredient. So you get it jarred or canned, like I see show you here. When you get it in the can, it's young. They call it young, and they put it in a brine. And then what you do is you drain it out of the brine, and then you shred it up or however you want to do it. If you are in other countries where jackfruit is much more popular, many times they don't pick it when it's young, they pick it when it's older, and then it's actually really sweet like fruit. The way I'm using it today, it's not sweet. It's just, it has a little more flavor than tofu, but not a ton of flavor. So you can add whatever flavors you want to it, and it shreds really easily. So a lot of people use it if they want to do like barbecue sauce and some seasonings like you would if you were going to use a pork, a brisket or a pork. So that's what you can do with it too. But in this case, I'm using it to put it in the jambalaya for my portion of the jambalaya. So I've already drained it at this point and rinsed it, and it comes in a little triangle. At the tip of the triangle is where it's kind of like the pineapple. We're in the middle of the pineapple where it's a little bit of that rind, but it's totally edible. So I just used a knife and I just chopped it up. This next time I'm going to separate it. Joe's, yeah, there you go. He's zooming in on it. And then it's just going to separate with my hands. It just depends on each time I'm making this, what I want to do with it. Sometimes I put it in the food processor and chopped it up, more like the chopped chicken salad. But in this case, I kind of wanted it more shredded. So that's what I'm doing there. And you can open one container, one jar of it, and you can, as long as you use it by the end of the week, it will last. In this case, I had already used the other portion of the can, so this was just the other half of the can, is what I was doing with it. So I'm just shredding it up, and then I'm going to heat it on the stove, just like Joe's doing with his kielbasa and his chicken. So I'm just continuing to, oh, and to find jackfruit, this is very good. Usually it's in more of the health food section of the grocery store. And if they have it there, then it will be where the canned beans are. That's where I found it at the local store here in central Illinois. But I have found it in other sections. It just kind of depends on the store, but it's definitely in the middle part of the section of the grocery store. It's not on the outer edge. Sometimes you can buy a whole jackfruit in the produce section, but in this case, they've already done all the work of taking the meat out for me. Welcome back, everyone. So the jambalaya, I closed the lid, put it on simmer for 15 minutes. About 8 minutes in, I opened the lid to make sure nothing was sticking. It was a little bit, so I added a couple more tablespoons of water, put the lid back on for another 7 minutes, and made sure that I did have it on a low simmer. You know, sometimes the oven, the stove, you just got to watch it. So now here is me revealing what it looks like. Oh, I wish you had smell-o-vision. That smelled so good with the Cajun seasoning, that tomato paste, that rice. It was so good. Stirring it around. You can tell we just took it off the stove. It's steaming everywhere. So I'm just stirring it around, and I'm going to show you how we're going to serve it. So there's my jackfruit. I had heated that up in the skillet, and I added a little bit of that barbecue sauce, the rib rack barbecue sauce. Showing that to you right now. And it was just a couple tablespoons of that just to season the jackfruit some for me. I've also got on my plate a large salad that I always serve my meals with, especially at night. And it's got some spinach and beets and tomatoes and cucumbers and carrots on there. And then I usually make just a balsamic vinegar on it. And then we've got Joe's has got the chicken and the kielbasa. So I'm getting ready to, I'm talking about the salad right now. One of my favorite dressings, I'll give you guys this little hint, is a 3-2-1. 3 parts vinegar, 2 parts mustard, 1 part maple syrup. You can make thousands of dressings with that. And I might have a mustard and vinegar problem. My husband will tell you that. So I'm putting the jambalaya on my plate, and then I'm adding the jackfruit on top of it. And there's my meal, that beautiful salad. And then Joe, he wants his in a bowl. So I'm putting his on there. He's telling me behind the camera how much he wants because we also want leftovers. We had enough for 2 lunches that week. So that's always good. There's Rizzo. That's our foster. He's always in the camera. Or you hear the pitter patter of his feet, and there's Joe's. I'm telling you, Rizzo, he's a happy boy. Okay, so Joe's going to come around the camera. Oh, I'm showing you. I'm trying to get him to look at the camera, and he's not cooperating. He's like, ooh, is there food? So, yeah, he's our foster dog, if I didn't say that. Our dog was probably in the bedroom sleeping. So now it's time for him and I to give this a try. You will see off to the side our eggshells for the garden. We have chickens, so we have lots of eggs that my husband, we sell them to friends and everything. And then my husband, of course, eats them. And those are our shells that we had to take out to the compost bin. So now we're going to try it. And boy, was it so good. Joe was talking about the fact that when we make meals like this, especially with the 2 of us, we take advantage of the fact that we are making more than one meal so that we have leftovers. And it was delicious. You could always add more Cajun seasoning if you didn't think it had enough in it. We tend to go on the lighter side of it because I feel like when dishes sit like that, you do get more flavor. So that is what we did. So it was phenomenal. And we cannot wait to eat the rest of that when the video was over. So thank you all so much for joining us. Let us know in the comments if you like this dish and if you gave it a try. And we'll hope you have a great week. Thank you.